everybody, welcome to Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art. I'm Derek Mazzoni. Thanks for being here. Hope you're well. Thank you for the time that you're spending with us here today. If you like the content that we're producing, the cultural content, please like and subscribe and tell your friends so we can continue doing this great work and highlighting artists from different parts of the world. We're going to be in two places today. We're going to be in Seattle, where we're based, Seattle Sacred Music. We're also going to be, in a sense, in Cuba. We're going to be talking to Kiki Valera today. He's going to be presenting us some amazing music. I've been a fan for a long time of his work, and you've heard this before. If you're ever heard when it was a social club, if you've ever been a fan of Cuban music, you've heard this particular style. He's a freaking master of this. He's a master on the Cuban cuatro, a mid-sized 8-string guitar. You can't help but dance when this person starts playing. It's pretty amazing. He is living in Seattle. He's playing out quite a bit. Obviously, we're dealing with the pandemic, so things have changed a little bit. But he is going to be playing as part of our co-sponsoring with Town Hall Global Rhythms. He's playing on February 25th at Town Hall in Seattle, and you can catch him in other places. Just go check out his website. He's obviously on social media. And we're going to hear some music right now, and then we're going to be talking to Kiki. Thanks for being here. Once again, this is Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art, celebrating diversity, championing our shared humanity through music and song. Kiki Valera y Son Cubano.
Vamos que llegó el son. Son viene de la loma, como dijo Matamoros, regando su melodía por donde quiera que pasa. Tu síncopa cadenciosa es el alma de la clave y al tambor está ligado como la yuca al casabe. Mi son viste guayabera y vive en casa de guano y no se quita el sombrero, no, para lucirse en el piano, porque mi son es sabroso, no hay quien resista el llamado de su tumbao contagioso, acompañado del bajo. Es que mi son es el orgullo y el sentimiento de los soneros. Con sus guitarras y sus tambores van regalándolo al mundo entero. Gracia y poesía, ritmo y amor que hasta el alma llena. Claro sinsonte que con su canto quita mis penas. Claro sinsonte que con su canto quita mis penas. montuno.
Porque anoche me pegó, parece no le gustó, que esa pesada jarana brincaba como una rana de un lado para otro lado. Soy un hombre comprobado y por eso digo yo no quiero a marihuana, porque anoche me pegó. Esa pesada jarana brincaba como una rana de un lado para otro lado. Soy un hombre comprobado y por eso digo yo no quiero a marihuana, porque anoche me pegó. Ay, 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 pita marihuana no voy. Ay, 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 Denis Fernández de la trompeta. Yo no sé qué sucedió, que se voló. Ay, 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 con marihuana no voy. Con marihuana no voy, con marihuana no juego, al cantar mi guaguancó. Ay, 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 con marihuana no voy. Y llegó el mambo gozando. Dale, Kiki. Suelta, Kiki, que eso es lo tuyo. Llegó el barracón del son. La bala Valera. Desafinado. Marihuana no voy. Con marihuana no. Marihuana no voy. Mejor me quedo con Kiki porque esto es un vacilón. Ay, 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 con marihuana no voy. Si no, pregúntale al tipo de la 176.
La vida se compone de vivencias, de aquello que no suele suceder, y en el recuerdo quedan estampadas y de ellas no te puedes desprender. Historia de niñez y adolescencia en la amorosa casa familiar. Recuerdo que mamá a golpe de bostes nos convocaba a todos a almorzar. Un adobo simple de verdura y sal, las sopas saciaba cual rico manjar, y en aroma bueno de sueño y canción guitarra y mucha fe, hoy siempre acompañado del recuerdo sublime de lo que el pasado fue. Con adobo simple de verdura y sal, las copas hastiaba cual rico manjar, y en aroma bueno de sueño y canción, Dios nos abrigaba con su bendición. Si pasaba el tiempo, según corría yo, amor adolescente, mi corazón lleno, y entre cuerdas y voces, entre luna y canción, el tiempo se hizo eterno y mi inocencia no. Bueno que no volvió, y en el recuerdo lo tengo yo. Ahí nada más. Pasado bueno que no volvió, y en el recuerdo lo tengo yo.
Kiki, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Derek, for having me here. It's a really, it's a my pleasure to be here as your guest. I mean, where we're going to be talking about music.
Yeah, things we like. Things we like. Things
Yeah.
that we've discovered, and hey, you can actually do this all the time. And but you're presenting a really beautiful, thought-provoking type of sound, Cuban son, which I find interesting is that Cuba's a small island. But on that small island, they created a type of music which is spread all over the world, like literally all over the world. I was just doing my radio show on KXP yesterday, and I played a band from Kiev, Ukraine. You know, it's like Ukraine is in the news,
Yeah,
not for the best reasons.
It's everywhere now.
Yeah, but I wanted to play this Cuban band. It's like Kiev's #1 Cuban band, and I'm spacing on the name. The Desplazados. It'll come to me later. A listener.
Desplazados could be.
Hmm?
Desplazados.
Yeah, I think that's the name.
Okay.
I'll look for it later. But you know, I wanted people to hear Cuban music in Ukraine because because anytime you hear Cuban music, it makes your heart lighter. You know, you feel something, you feel a connection, you feel you want to move, and obviously Ukraine's in the news because they might get invaded by Russia. But I think when I play Cuban music from Ukraine, it gives my listeners and people kind of like a twisted sense of these people don't want to get invaded. They just want to play Cuban music, you know, in Ukraine and have some joy and have some fun. What's like, you know, it kind of like, why would you want to start this trouble with these amazing people who love this type of music? So Kiki, tell me right now, what is it about Cuban music that has turned it into such a popular export literally all over the world?
Well, first of all, I think is about this great mixture that our culture in general has. We're talking here roots from Europe, Spain, and as you know, Spain was dominated by the Moors for seven centuries. So itself, there is a mixture. And in Cuba, we have that culture from Spain, and we have this other culture from Africa. Because when we were colony, we had a lot of, a lot of slaves. So they brought into the island their culture, their religions, their everything, their rhythm. And Cuba was that melting pot where these two cultures, blend together in a way that is very, let's put it this way, is very catchy, very moving. And the Cuban music is very, very upbeat, so that combination between that syncopated rhythms and melodies brought this kind of music that makes you dance.
And it became a global phenomenon.
Yes.
Many times over. See, that's the other part that I wanted to talk about is that it wasn't just, obviously within our time, Buena Vista was the last big wave, but Cuban music has been percolating, since music started being recorded.
Exactly.
And so it's like a wave, and then another wave, and then another wave comes in.
Yes. I recently bought this collection of recordings from Sexteto Habanero, and those songs were recorded in Cuba in the 1920s. So I think that was the taking off of the Cuban music, because due to those recordings, everybody had access to that kind of music. And as the Cuban music evolved through the years, became more popular because started to receive influence from other musics, like for example jazz. So now here we are talking by the years, by the mid 50s, where the Cuban music was in that point where started to blend more with other kind of music, like jazz, for example, that big band
Yeah.
style. Let's talk about the bands like Benny Moret's band. That was a pretty good example of what was happening,
Yep.
because he started to incorporate that big horn sessions into his band. So the music turned out more strong, more elaborated, and at the same time, totally danceable, catchy, and I mean, it's those years were amazing because we had a lot of artists. Let's to mention someone, we can mention Celia Cruz,
Yeah.
Benny Moré, Riverside Orchestra, all those kind of groups that make history in our.
They became legends. They
Yeah, of course,
actually
yeah.
created new forms. Obviously
Yeah.
salsa and others, but the origin was in Cuba. And to my point earlier, the thing that strikes me is that as I travel the world, there are Cuban style bands literally in just about every country. You probably go to North Korea and there's a
Probably.
underground Cuban band. So there's something about this music that seems to transcend language, transcend culture. It connects
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
as human beings. What a role does the music play in Cuba, and specifically in Eastern Cuba, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, that's where the music originates, and that's
Uh-huh.
where it moves from east to west.
To west,
What
yeah.
role does the music play in Cuba?
Well, in my opinion, when this music started to come out, was performed in the countryside, and it was made by workers, peasants, because that's where my family. I have to talk here about my family because my ancestors were one of those families that play Son Cubano in its original form. Very simple, with few instruments. They use, for example, the tres cubano, which is the closest cousin of a cuatro, what I played now. They use guitars, they use claves, they use bongos, sometimes congas, and all those kind of shakers like maracas.
Stuff
But-
you can just take with you. It's not like
Exactly,
a big
because they used to move from one place to another to play and do parties and stuff. So I grew up in this environment. Since I have memory, we used to gather with my family, my father, my grandmother, my great mother, all my uncles. We were a big family at that time. And we used to gather for simple things like birthday parties or just for Christmas. And we used to go on vacation to the countryside to visit my family. And there, my father used to carry with him a tres or a guitar, and we just got there, and the whole family gathered, and we started party for days.
Nice.
And we did that in the basis like it's normal. It's like a tradition. But in the late in 1982, there was this musicologist from Santiago that he was doing this field research about the origins of the Son Cubano in the eastern part. And he stumbled up with my family. He said, okay, you're doing this, but you don't know exactly. You don't have conscience about what you're doing here.
Okay.
You don't realize that this is the very primitive form of Son Cubano. So your family may be one of those founders.
Huh.
So he started to interviewing all my family, and then myself, I discovered, oh, this is really cool. I didn't know that. Grandma, you never told me that, and you never told me this, and the whole investigation ended up in that my family was carriers. You know, they were doing the Son Cubano since probably their beginnings.
Okay.
So I grew up in that environment. Later, I went to the art school to study classical music, classical guitar, and there I widened my knowledge, about theory, all that kind of stuff. But that allowed me to understand more what was happening with my family. So the role was of Cuban music was first to make, I think, to make people happy in those hours of the day where they don't have to work, where they didn't have to work. After work, they gather to, after like a leisure time and, playing music, create songs, composing, and they used to do their own music party all around that.
So
back in the days, they didn't have radio, they didn't have anything. They were totally disconnected. So they do their own thing.
So it was a relief. It was a way to connect. It was a way to
exactly
to
connect
lighten
people,
the
because
spirit.
not only my family, because when my family had, for example, these family parties, and other families from the arounds came over and joined. And I think that was the main role. And the second role was kind of transmit the culture, because at that time, every knowledge was transmitted, from mouth to mouth.
Mm-hmm.
By oral, meaning.
Yeah.
So and the legacy for the future generations. I mean that, okay, my father used to play tres, so I learned how to play tres, because when I was 6 years old, my father gave me my first tres cubano as a birthday gift.
Mm-hmm.
So I began to play tres.
You started early.
Yeah, so that's my legacy.
So let's talk about that for a second. But first of all, I'm talking to Kiki Valera, you Son Cubano, playing on February 25th at Town Hall in Seattle and other places. We're covering a lot of subjects here, as we often do in Sama. Thanks for joining us. But Kiki, let's talk about legacy right now, because how do you keep this music in your family? but people are moving. There's other things going on. You know, you were talking about your family being isolated and this thing growing in your family, or in some senses originating in your family. There's a lot of other things going on. There's a lot of the music. There's a lot of distractions. How do you keep this legacy, this sound, with the generations to come?
I try to keep intact, I mean, as possible, the music that I learned from my family. But as we were talking earlier off camera, I can't, or no musicians can avoid to be bombarded or influenced by its environment. So I try to keep the roots, but from my perspective, I'm trying to add a little bit of modern touch and something different, because I love jazz music. I'm a huge jazz music consumer. Besides, I listen to every kind of music, from classical to rap, pop, funk, jazz. But jazz is what I like, the most. So I'm not intending to play Cuban music in kind of a jazzy side, but I'm trying to borrow, from different musics, something that I can add on my music that works, like gives it a new touch. But the roots are there. It's the syncopation, the use of percussion, which is really strong in Cuban music, and the syncopation is the center of that music, and I try to keep that as intact as possible. That's my goal. That's my purpose.
So, are you teaching? Are there others? How do you, once
I've been teaching here, not that much these times, but when I came here in 2013, I mean, several people approached to me interested in, to learn how the Cuban music works and how to play the tres cubano. I gave a couple lessons of bass players, how to get into the groove, how to give that sabor, that touch that the Cuban music has in the bass. And I produced a couple albums from people here, and
you're busy.
And recently, a singer from LA contacted me because she wrote song, but she was born in Miami. She wanted that song to have a kind of Cuban touch, Cuban style. So I ended up to arrange that song for her and produce the whole recording for that song with that Cuban feeling, stuff like that.
Okay. So you're in demand. That's good. Kiki, this is great. Once again, you can check out Kiki Valera y Son Cubano on Friday, February 25th at 7:30 p.m., part of Global Rhythms. So it's Sama, Global Rhythms Town Hall. Kiki, thank you. This is awesome. Really appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you, and looking forward to seeing more of you as, inshallah, we get an opportunity to go out and play more and share this music, especially in the Northwest. Not just Seattle, but, the other towns around here, too. This is important.
Thank you so much. I mean, I have to say you are a special guest in that concert that we're going to do at Town Hall this next month.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be needed,
I hope to
'cause-
see you there. I hope to see you there.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. Okay, be well, be safe. This is Sama,
Thank you,
Seattle
Derek.
Sacred Music and Art. Breathe in, breathe out. We're going to be fine.